Here I am, fresh from watching the 5th installment of the investigation, the primetime live investigation, these hearings where Republicans are taking the stand and giving evidence. This is not a biased hearing. This is not the panel, Democrats in the main and 2 Republicans giving evidence. This is Republicans who worked for Trump, who wanted Trump to win the election. These are the people giving evidence, and they all say that Donald Trump tried to overturn the election based on lies, election fraud that could not be found. And any little bits of fraud, the odd ballot here and there, in any state was not enough to change the result of Joe Biden's victory. It just wasn't possible. It wasn't possible. The whole thing is a ruse, the whole thing. Trump has made this whole thing up and he's taking the whole country with him. And I quote, this is what Trump said. This was recalled by Donahue. When Rosen told Trump that the Justice Department could not just snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election, because Trump had been calling every day to ask the Justice Department to investigate, right? Never mind the separation of the Justice Department and the White House, which is protocol. No, every day he called. Only Christmas Day did he not call. That's what Trump said. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. That's what Trump said.
Let's take a look at another one of your notes. You also noted that Mr. Rosen said to Mr. Trump, quote, DOJ can't and won't snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election. How did the president respond to that, sir?
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
The president said, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. So, Mr. Donahue, that's a direct quote from President Trump, correct?
That's an exact quote from the president, yes.
I mean, this is the admission, right, that the Justice Department needs to know that Trump's intent was to overturn the election, even though he knew that he'd lost. I mean, the Justice Department has raided Jeffrey Clark's home in the last 24 hours and, taken his stuff. So it looks like they are investigating. But my point is, and I watch these hearings religiously, and I encourage you to do the same. We've now got Marjorie Taylor Greene, we've got Matt Gaetz, we've got Ted Cruz asking Trump for pardons because they knew that their involvement with trying to overturn this election result was criminal, was corrupt, was untrue, and they've asked for blanket pardons. A whole bunch of people asking for blanket pardons from the president because they knew what they were involved with was illegal. The evidence is compelling. This is not an opinion piece. This is not, the Democrats say Trump tried to overturn the election. No, he tried to overturn the election. It's widely covered. The evidence is there. It's printed. It's written. It's photographed. It's videoed. It's there in black and white for you to see. So please, take my advice. Watch the hearings back. Really, really understand what's at stake here. This is the very fabric of American democracy. This is really the whole structure of the Constitution and the wider country at stake. And people seem to be just carrying on. And maybe it's American exceptionalism that prevents people from taking a doomsday story seriously. But this is doomsday material. I just want to finish with what Adam Kinzinger said as he summed up. He's, of course, one of the 2 Republicans on the panel. He said that despite all of this compelling evidence that proves that Trump tried to overturn the election, he fears that there are still people in place, as you know, Republican states have been putting people who are, in the cult of Trump into these responsible positions, the legislatures and the like, and they could seek to overturn the election again. This coup could happen again. And that's why you have to take this seriously. This was not a one-time thing. I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5-Minute News podcast and on Sunday mornings on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.